Goodbye, LaFont Plaza, the neighborhood next to my neighborhood that provides the pun/movie reference that I'm basing this entire video on. And it is pronounced LaFont, but you know what? I don't care. Goodbye, LaFont Plaza, in your weird mall that pretty much closes at 5. Goodbye, the shoe store that has been closing for years. Goodbye to the post office and the cardboard model who doesn't know how to lift a box. Goodbye, LaFont, and your terrible promenade that is the legacy of 60s architecture and urban renewal. Look at this nook on the sidewalk where clearly the streetlight can nest in, but no, the streetlight has to be in the middle of the sidewalk because why even try to accommodate pedestrians? And goodbye to your collection of museums targeting those with a certain political lean, stealthily, and sometimes perhaps not as stealthily. Now, why would anyone pay $30 to see this when all these other ones are free? Goodbye, DC, in your beautiful mornings and your beautiful evenings. Goodbye, Tidal Basin and your cherry blossoms. I certainly took them for granted, having seen them every year because we lived about a 20-minute walk from where they were. There was no way I would ever spend hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars and vacation days to see them. There's always basically a 50-50 chance for the peak bloom to miss the prediction by a week, or maybe more. All it takes is a sudden warm spell or a cold snap, and your whole trip would be ruined. So it was nice to be able to see them every year for free. Goodbye, DC, and your subway system, which is up there among the best in the country, although perhaps not so much the best in the world. Your handicap access is there sometimes, although it did feel like you hated people on wheels. To switch from the northbound Green Line to the Silver Line would require you to get on 3 different elevators, for instance. Why? And of course, every elevator smelled like a urinal. Not just urine, but urinals. They even put urinal cakes in them. Oh, we're not gonna put bathrooms in our stations because we don't want homeless people using them. Well, guess what? But sorry for being harsh, DC. And thank you for having any public transit options at all. I like your museums too, and the good ones are mostly free. Of course, they could get quite crowded sometimes, but it didn't matter, because I like the less popular ones anyway. Well, after having visited the popular ones multiple times, because those were the ones your friend want to visit when they come to DC. But the less popular ones are actually nice. The Botanic Garden, for instance. Especially when it's cold outside, like during the holiday seasons, when they would have the train display and the monuments made out of plants. Or when it stinks inside. Your political events were impressive too, and I don't know, I don't have too many insightful things to say about those. The spirits were always high, although the main accomplishment overall seemed to be mostly, well, a sense of accomplishment, followed by recuperation, which can breed apathy and ultimately pessimistic nihilism. Your sports teams were pretty decent for a while. Both the hockey team and the baseball team won the national championship when we lived there. We almost got trampled watching the final Caps game outside Chinatown. That was 2018. The next year, the Nats won. That's the baseball team. The guy, Geraldo Parra, who was the reason why every Nats fan was singing Baby Shark that year, actually lived in our building for a while. The neighborhood we lived in was nice. Still is, I reckon. if not getting nicer. It was very clean too, compared to the rest of the city. Some may even say that it's so clean that it's sterile. We live near the wharf. Your restaurants are mostly too expensive for what they were. There were a few that we liked, although there were some truly awful ones. But still, it was our home for 7 years. It was the first home we owned and probably ever will own. Owning is a bit overrated, I think, nowadays. The rate that's being overrated is the mortgage rate, by the way. But it was home. And we did some home improvement projects. The first thing we did was the bathroom. The contractors showed up late, I still remember, and tried to overcharge us later. Then we called them and said, "Hey, you guys overcharged us. Can you send us a different bill?" And they canceled the bill and never got around to sending us another bill. So their incompetence ended up working out, I guess. Then during the pandemic, I got into doing some woodworking, mostly just to make certain pieces of furniture fits inside certain size nooks a little bit better. Here's a desk I built for the keyboard. Here's the desk I clobbered together for the bedroom. And here's the crib I sawed up to fit in this particular spot. Oh yeah, we had a baby in DC. She's our first baby and probably not our last. Her name is Annie. She learned how to laugh and cry. That one didn't take much learning. And eat and poop liquids, and then solids, and then crawl and walk and cackle. So I'm gonna miss those days, as I'm gonna miss you, DC, because you were there with me during those days. I'm gonna miss your seasons, well, mostly just your falls. I'm not gonna miss your mosquitoes in the spring and your swampy summer days. But I'm gonna miss the colors along the Potomac. I'm gonna miss walking past the ginkgo-lined streets between Waterfront and Navy Yard. Georgetown was nice too. So was Alexandria. Your winters can be pretty sometimes as well, especially when you get a decent amount of snow once every few years. I'm gonna miss the long walks in the park next to where we lived. I'm gonna miss the water and the bridges and the trails. I'm gonna miss the duck pond and the Friday night jazz concerts at the local church, or this weird sculpture with no explanation for it anywhere. And of course, the 4th of July fireworks. Not the big one on the mall, but the ones that you can see from any rooftop in DC. The loud bangs that are not gunshots, and the bright lights from the fireworks and police cars. I'm gonna miss this weird tree that grew beans out of its lumpy trunk. I'm gonna miss the walk to my daughter's daycare, where for the entire summer of 2022, it smelled like something died on this pedestrian overpass. I'm gonna miss this weird corner of Buzzard Point that's probably not gonna be there in another 10 years. DC, you have been a nice home to me. You're the best place I've ever lived in the US. Although for the record, the only other place I've lived in the US were Ann Arbor, Mastic Beach, which is on Long Island, Knoxville, Tennessee, and Ames, Iowa. So the competition isn't too stiff there. But hey, DC, you still come out on the top. So don't be sad, DC. I'm leaving my home, but I'm also going home. I'm going to Hong Kong. Hello, Hong Kong. Okay, maybe not that. I didn't mean to sound like a meme referencing the Hong Kong tourism campaign. What I meant was, It's good to be back.